Hey guys, it's Shenoheat here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, we're going to be seeing if there's a noticeable difference at all between 75Hz and 60Hz monitors, while also reviewing this monitor from Auzai, who were kind enough to send me the M215BH model. So this particular monitor is a pretty nice 1080p 75Hz monitor. It doesn't have a lot of extra ports on the back, but it does cover all the essential ones. So, pretty much got HDMI and VGA and an audio jack as well. So this monitor actually has a lot of cool features built in. It's got a blue light filter in it, which is pretty good for taking care of your eyes. And of course, the highlight of it is that it's a 75Hz monitor, which is a higher refresh rate than your run-of-the-mill 1080p monitor. A lot of them are 60Hz. That's it's pretty common for 1080p monitors and a lot of TVs as well, actually. But this monitor is unique. It's got a pretty good 5-millisecond response time, but its refresh rate, 75Hz refresh rate, is the interesting one. So I want to start off by comparing it with 60Hz first. So this monitor I'm using, this is an older monitor I have, and it's a 60Hz monitor, 1080p as well. And you can see I'm running Halo 2 MCC at a little over 600 frames per second, almost 700 frames per second in fact. And on a 60Hz monitor with unlimited frame rate on, it's well, you can see there's a lot of screen tearing. It is really bad, and it's not that great to look at on a 60Hz monitor. So that's 60Hz. Is there any difference on a 75Hz monitor though? Does those extra 15Hz actually improve it? Well, this is 75Hz, and just to set your expectations right, I'm running at like almost 700 frames per second, depending on the scene. So it's even on a 75Hz monitor, there's definitely going to be screen tearing as well. But we're going to be seeing like if the 75Hz even improves it a little bit, because a lot of people, higher refresh rate monitors get more expensive, and if you want to have a higher than 60Hz refresh rate without jumping like into like the hundreds for the monitor, then we're going to be seeing if 75Hz could be a noticeable improvement over 60Hz. So right now, here's a side-by-side comparison. I did have to record this with my phone, because if I just capture the footage on the PC, you're not going to be able to see the screen tearing. But yeah, so this is side-by-side footage. On the left, we have the 60Hz monitor, and on the right, we have the 75Hz Auzai monitor. And well, as you can see, there definitely is still screen tearing on both, but because the Auzai monitor is the 75Hz one, you can see that, well, aside from like the better color, you can see that the screen tearing is actually a little bit better compared to the 60Hz monitor. It's not like a drastic difference as you would get from like maybe like a 240Hz monitor, but it's improvement nonetheless, actually. Now, this is actually just like a more of an extreme example, an extreme test, because we're talking like frame rates and like the, up to like 700, even 800 sometimes. And, there's obviously, even on like a 144Hz monitor, even on like a 240Hz monitor, at frame rates that high, you're still going to have screen tearing. And that's just the nature of high frame rates on low refresh rate monitors. The higher the refresh rate, the less screen tearing. And you can see here in Halo 2 Classic Multiplayer, I'm over 900 frames per second. And, in regular gameplay, the screen tearing is not as bad, which is where, you'll see the most improvements. Because at 75Hz, there's still a little bit of screen tearing in, Classic Multiplayer, in gameplay in general. And this is true for any game, not just Halo. The higher the refresh rate, the higher the frame rate on a lower refresh rate monitor, the more screen tearing you get. But the higher refresh rate you get, the higher the refresh rate the monitor, I should say, the less screen tearing. And as you can see, it's a little bit smoother actually on the 75Hz monitor. So you'll have some improvements with this monitor. Now, again, these are all extreme examples running at super high frame rates on pretty much any monitor. You're going to get screen tearing. The biggest benefit, the biggest reason to have like a higher refresh rate monitor is, the most gains you'll get is if you have VSync on with unlimited frame rate. Because unlimited frame rate with vertical sync on locks your game's frame rate at the refresh rate of the monitor. So if you have VSync on and your monitor is 75 Hz, your frame rate will be locked at 75 frames per second. Whereas if it's 60 Hz, then the frame rate will be at 60 frames per second. And as long as the frame rate doesn't go too much above the refresh rate, you can have a very smooth image, very clean animations, no screen tearing or anything like that. And that's what VSync is for. And if you only have a 60 Hz monitor or TV, then with VSync on, you're gonna be stuck at 60 frames per second no matter what, no matter how good the hardware you have. But with the 75 Hz monitor like this one, then with VSync on, then you will run at 75 frames per second without any screen tearing. And everybody says that higher frame rate is better, and I can agree with that. I used to think like 30 FPS was okay, but once I started getting used to 60 FPS or even higher, I just can't go back to the lower frame rates anymore. It's 60 FPS is like the bare minimum for me now, unless it's like a really cinematic game with a lot of motion blurring. But yeah, so this monitor is if you don't want like a super expensive like 240 Hz monitor, you just want to do 1080p gaming, but you have the hardware to go like higher than 60 FPS, so you want a little bit smoother experience with higher frame rates, then this is definitely a good monitor you can check out, and I'll definitely post a link to it in the description below. But aside from that, like I said, it's a pretty nice monitor, and if you guys want a higher refresh rate monitor without breaking the bank, then definitely check this out if you're interested. But yeah, that wraps up for this review, and hopefully you guys did enjoy it, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys!